The type of work I do is mainly solving problems. You are your own set maker. You are not just an artist, you are a director, you're a cinematographer, you're the cameraman. Everything within your set is all in your power. My name is Danar. I'm a concept artist working in the entertainment industry for the past 4 years. I worked on titles such as Horizon, Horizon 2, and a small indie game called Last of Us 2. It all started for me when I was 7 or 8 years old. I was watching a cartoon, I remember, with my siblings, and for some reason I thought, let me try to redraw that. And that was the point that I told myself, this is something I am good at, and I will always try to get better at it. Around that time, my parents couldn't afford a lot of stuff for us, so I had to imagine everything which I liked in my own head. In 1997, my parents fled from the war in Kurdistan, Iraq. We came here for a prosperous future, and I'm always happy to say that my parents always supported me in what I do. When I went to my college, there was an old friend of mine who told me, do you know the term concept art? And I was like, no, I've never heard of it. He showed me on Google Images, like, look at this, you can actually make a living out of doing art for games and films. My mind was blown because I never thought about the fact that there are people who actually make this and draw this. So from that point on, for me, it was very simple. I started drawing every day. Most of my teachers actually, outside of a couple, were like, stop doing concept art. It's just dark, it's not good, do this, do that. And for me, I always knew one thing, and that's just an opinion of one person. A teacher, for me, it's not my God. The way I broke into the gaming world was, there was a workshop called IFCC, and I went to that workshop, and from there I met a guy called Shadi Safari. He got me to his company, One Pixel Brush. He gave me an assignment, my first assignment actually, and I was horrible at it. And I remember hearing from one of the other guys who were working with him as well, and he was like, I'm working on The Last of Us 2, don't tell anybody. And the first thing I said to him, like, please give me an image. And thankfully, the first image that I did came out great. And from that point on, it was just 3 years of hard struggle and no sleep. While I was working on The Last of Us 2, I was still a student at a university that was teaching me how to go into the game world. This is an interesting thing, actually. When I started out, I wanted to do characters. I never wanted to do environments. And the reason was not because I didn't like environments, it's because I didn't know how to approach environments. So I just kept on drawing what I liked and what inspired me the whole time. And this is just, keep on grinding and keep on showing that I can do more than just, one thing. I got a Nolan film or a book that I read. It doesn't matter for me. It's all about the feel. It's all about the mood that I feel inside. My hometown always influences my work. And with that, I mean, if I don't feel good, if I feel bad, I always go outside. I always find places which can inspire me. And Rotterdam can really provide me that with the different architectures. The people in Rotterdam are super nice. When I have an image to make, first thing I do is first day I just spend on reference searching. I have a folder with hundreds and hundreds of photos, and every photo that I find, I get more defined within the idea itself. I go outside, I take photos. I have probably the hundreds of gigabytes of photos that I can refer to and always use if I need it. So it's very important for me to have a library of visual references that I can always go back to. This is an image that I made for The Last of Us 2. One of the first few things I do is I do extensive research. So finding images that could give me an idea of how a real hospital looks like and how it can influence my work. It's the 80-20% rule. As long as 80% is based on life, the 20% is the twist that I give it myself. If you look at Last of Us, everything in that game is realistic outside of the zombie apocalypse. So that means from 80 to 90%, I can actually refer to real-world situations. If I wanted to see a broken building, I just look up areas where there has been wars or there has been fights so that I can reference the buildings broken up. First thing I do is just flip it, put it right in this position. It's important to notice when you do images like this that you know where your light direction comes from and that the images that you use have no harsh light on them so that you can adjust it yourself when you're photoshopping. I feel like I'm a cinematographer, the director, the cameraman. I am all in one. We just think like directors. How can we make this character pop out more? How do we do that? And that's by adding some more rim lights. That's all I do. I'm designing light. I'm not designing forms. I'm not designing soldiers. I'm not designing anything. For me, lighting is everything because light is the thing that within an image tells the audience, hey, I'm here. Look at me. You have realistic lighting and then you have the artist touch of realistic lighting. A good example I can give is the way Steven Spielberg uses his movies. He always uses dramatic lighting. And with dramatic, I mean fake lights, which enhances the storytelling. I use Photoshop for my final stages of my images. Take an example. This is the first stage of my image. This is the 3D. An empty room. And what's important is I can have a reference of how big the space is so that when I use photos, I can base it off that reference. So, and slowly you build it up towards what we have right now, adding small components, and every small element adds to the story itself. It's very comforting at the end when you look at the complete image and you feel like I finally accomplished something. If I go on Instagram and I see everybody's work, everybody's images, everybody looks beautiful, everybody looks sexy, everybody looks great, everybody's making creative stuff. And I just noticed that from my point, I'm looking from my backseat towards somebody's showreel. They're showing me how great they are. So that's also a learning curve to not compare yourself with others, but to compare yourself with where you were a year ago. Because that way you notice that you will grow. But as soon as you compare yourself to everybody around you, you will start to notice that you aren't growing as somebody else and you start to punish yourself for that. I do a lot of workshops. I also teach at New Edge. It's a concept art school in Paris. So I try to kind of find a perfect balance between that and hopefully inspire kids who look like me, who also came from refugee families and can feel like, oh, if he can do it, then I can do it as well. My advice for young ones is to stick with your gut feeling. If you feel like you need to do concept art, then do that. If you feel like you want to do illustration, then do that. It's very hard to ignore the external influences around you, but you just have to ask yourself the question, what do I want? Because at the end of the day, when you become 40 to 50 to 60, whatever, you can't blame anybody for the stuff that you didn't do. But you can always be proud of the stuff that you did do on your own. People ask me the big question, how do you get better? How do you get better at concept art? What is the trick? And there's only one trick. It's most of the people spend more time than you in what they do. That's it. If I could give my younger self one advice, that is, please enjoy it more, because I was too much focused on the end result. I was too much focused on the end of the mountain and not the process towards it. Because the moment I got into Last of Us 2 and I was telling everybody was like, oh, great job, good for you, you know, and that moment stopped after a day or two and then I actually had to work. I'm still trying to figure out what direction I want. And I still feel like I'm at that point, figuring out what I want, because, you know, every day is a new day.